How are we all doing, everyone? So for the last few months, I have been given the task from NT Labs of testing their new plant nutrition, Plantus. Now, it has exceeded expectations, but the problem with doing test runs for them is that that has meant I have got tanks with random plants and no fish dotted around. So yesterday I took the opportunity to close a load of those down and get back on top of things because I saw a Betta fish at my local shop that I have absolutely fallen in love with. So Plantus testing has stopped. Plantus is now a product. I don't need to do any more of that, but I do need to get a Betta tank here ready for my new fish. So, well, we might as well crack on, haven't we? Now, I'm not actually going to be using this tank that is already sat here. This was actually going to be a test tank for the Plantus, but we didn't need it in the end. So I'm getting rid of this one and then replacing it with a Betta tank. Now, ever since seeing this tank, I actually have been quite excited to try one because they are supposedly specifically designed for, over there, Bettas. So they've got slow flow, slower, like subtle lighting, and a few other bits and pieces that are designed with Bettas in mind. Don't throw that, that's the lid. There are also a couple of other features on this tank. Oh, that can go down there. That I want to try out. There's some sort of water change feature that I'm interested to try that looked very interesting when I saw the review, and yeah, well, I'll show you in a bit once I get it set up. Now, with the little Betta that I have seen, I've been sort of mulling over what sort of scape I want to do, and I want to keep it quite simple, but I need to see how bright the light is because it is subtle lighting designed for a Betta, so I want to make sure that I keep the right plants in here and that they're not gonna, well, suffer with lower lighting. I've just also noticed that none of my tanks are on at the moment. That is because I'm filming earlier today than normal. I'm actually up, I'm actually out, and I'm actually getting this project done early, which is normally quite odd for me, to be honest. Normally all the lights are on by now, but they will turn on throughout this video, I am sure. But with obviously the lighting being designed for Bettas, the pumps are designed for Bettas as well. So you'll find that they've got a funny little grill inlet and outlet so that the flow isn't too strong for them. And Bettas don't generally like that. They like slow moving water, they like slower moving bodies of water, they like lots of places to rest. So the way that they've designed this so far is actually really clever and really quite cool. So I'm guessing all of this is just equipment and bits and pieces. That's a plug for the light unit, I'm assuming. What have we got in this one? We've got a pump, wonderful. We've got a heater, don't throw that. That looks like the light unit. Come on, out, come here. A very well wrapped light unit. Ooh, sleek. And that can go down there. And a filter pad. I've even just realised the big tank's off at the moment, which is proper early because that light goes on for quite some time normally, but I am not disrupting the fish's normal routine and cycle. Normally I have these lights on so that the fish start to wake up in the morning, but I'm not disrupting their main cycle just for the sake of filming. So that can go on the back of there somewhere. I probably should read the instructions because that would probably be useful, but I think we're just going to go into it. I watched Alex's video, I saw him set it up. I'm sure that'll be more than enough for me to get this going. Where does that go? I knew I was getting ahead of myself with that light, so that filter goes down and slides in to there, like so, and then where do I put that heater? Slide that over. Heater goes down inside there. And that can go over there. Do you know what? I make a joke about throwing things on the floor, but it's only me that has to go and clean it up after I finish filming, so I don't know why I actually do that most of the time. And then lastly, the thing to go in there is the pump. Now this is where it's quite interesting. If I can slide that out gently. It's really tricky when you're new to a product. You don't know how rough you can be with it, so you sort of try and do it all calm. But this has got a really slow outlet. So normally on filters you have like a big nozzle coming out, like a, I don't know, the end of a hose pipe. Whereas this has got this foam and the water swells up and just gently releases through that front grill, which is quite cool. And then this is something that I'm quite excited about, but we'll have to talk about that once the tank has some actual water in it. Right, let's chuck the pump on the bottom of here and get that installed. So with that all done, we should be able to turn that one on. Oh, that's brighter than I thought it would be actually. That's quite good. I think that'll be enough to grow most of the easy plants that we're looking at going in here. But now we need to start on Hardscape, and the Betta that I've seen, well, he won't go well against dark substrates and dark backgrounds. So we need to sort of brighten the tank up, I guess, is what I'm trying to say. Now, another thing that I wanted to try out, but stupidly I got the mega set, was this scaping set. I've got nowhere to put it. Now, in theory, for this size of aquarium, you'd actually only need the nano set, or possibly not even the nano set. But I got this for a different project. I hope that shelf is strong enough. It seems to be. I got this for a different project, and well, I'd only need a couple of stones out of here and a bit of the gravel, so I should still have enough for that other project. And this way I can use a bit of that like goldeny stone that you can see in this tank to brighten it up. So let's have a look inside and see what we are working with. Oh, nice, yeah. A few of these golden cobbles will work an absolute treat. Oh, that broken one will be good. We can bury that in the sand and make it look like it's protruding out. Perfect. I realised though I've lifted this up here and now I can't see the tank, which was a bit stupid. So down the box goes. Let's shut that shelf. I don't really think these things through, do I? Right, much better. We can see what we're scaping now. Now, I've not fully chosen the plants that are going to go in here yet, but I think we might have a few root feeders. So we're going to go with a plant substrate. That will just give a few nutrients to the base of the plants if we go for root feeders, but I'm pretty sure we will. And the foam that's in there is just for the sake of the filming, because it makes a horrendous noise when you pour it into a pure glass tank. Right, let's tidy that up a bit because I don't want it looking like that. We want to create a sort of, I think, hill in the middle with then the rocks around it. It doesn't matter so much actually in this corner, saying that, because that corner's going to be back here. So yeah, let's scape it actually into the corner. That'll work quite well. Now, rocks-wise, I don't want to go too crazy high on them because actually, well, I don't need them to go that high. I want some other structure that we'll talk about in a minute to be the height. The plants are obviously going to be tall, but these are just going to be in the bottom. Yeah, I really like that yellow coloration. It's going to really brighten up against the fish. Right, how many do you reckon? Probably 5 or 6, I think. This is another nice one. I'm just giving them a quick dip because some of them feel a tad bit dusty. And it's not the end of the world, a bit of dust, but it's a smaller tank, so you want to be as clean as you can be when you're setting it up. Not sure if that one fits. That looks too similar. Let's get some smaller ones in there and add a bit of shape to it. So, the only problem with washing your stones is you end up with your substrate stuck to it, but that's not the end of the world. We can sort that out. Maybe we go with this one lying down a bit more, and then we'll get some smaller ones to mix in amongst it. I think that will look better. Right, got a few smaller ones. Let's raise that one up slightly at the back, I think. That's a better shape, I think. That one's a weird triangle shape. I don't like that one. Now, I don't want to cover the whole substrate, but having a few of these extra little ones around the edge will be ideal, I think. And like I said, I'm not trying to build up any height with these rocks, because the height is going to come from the other thing that I've got going in this tank. Well, the plants and the other hardscape, which I'm yet to show you. that work? Yeah, I like that. So with the little group of pebbles in, like I said, I want to go crazy on pebbles. The next bit is the hardscape that I haven't shown you yet, and that is this, which is bamboo. And I think this will continue with that Southeast Asian sort of theme and keeping that bright coloration in here to make sure that Betta, when we get him in here, stands out. Now, there are a few rules to using bamboos. Well, not rules, but things you need to be careful of. Now, I've used bamboo in aquariums for years on and off. We actually had some in the old Stingray tank in my old shop that used to cover the filter pipes. We bought the really, really chunky stuff. And it doesn't last all that long, but it's obviously cheap enough and easy enough to take it out, chuck a new bit in, and away you go. It's fairly easy to replace. Now, you do have to make sure it's not treated. Most of them aren't, but you do need to make sure that it's not got anything on it, no chemical contaminants, anything like that. Now, this stuff here is actually mine. I grew this in my garden. I chopped it down probably 3-4 years ago, and it's just been sort of used for differing things, and some of them have been used in the garden, but most of them have just sat there in my garage drying out. So I know that there is nothing on this one that I need to be worried about. Now, I have heard of people lacquering them and varnishing them and all those different things, but to be honest, you're only getting the outside, so the inside is still gonna sort of break down over time. So personally, I just let them be in the aquarium. As they break down, I pull them out, and I'll show you how I glue them so that you can get them in and out easily. And then I just replace them when they go a bit brown and soggy. To be honest, it's no different to keeping a lot of other botanicals in your aquarium, but I'll show you what I do with them, because I do glue them, and if you've got any sort of squidgy bits like this bit here, I would probably get rid of that. But we're going to boil them. I'm going to chop them into vague lengths, and then we can build up some sort of bamboo style forest. Now, I've also got some thinner ones as well, so that we can get a bit of, not necessarily scale, but then they're not all the same size. I think that will look better. Now, I'll just chop that rotten bit off. That was dangerous. And then we can go on with this sort of slightly harder bit. And all I'm going to do is roughly measure them to the height of the aquarium, chop them down, and then once I've chopped them down, we'll go and give them a quick boil to make sure that there's no nasties, no, you know, not that there should be, but it just makes sure that there's nothing left on them that we don't want in the aquarium. We'll do this one. I won't video cutting all of them down because that's boring, but there's the first two. You get the idea. Let's have, I don't know, maybe 8 or 9, 10, something like that. So I've got about 10 bamboo sticks, and I thought that roasting tin would be big enough, but don't tell Katie that I'm using this, because otherwise she will go mad. But it's a perfect tin for boiling bamboo sticks ready to use in an aquarium. I don't know what I was expecting then. There was a bit of me that was thinking they were going to go like spaghetti, and they were all going to start folding into the bowl. There we go. So we'll just give them a bit of time, let them boil, and then we can glue them and get them in the tank. Right, they have had a good amount of time to boil, although I did have to flip them round a few times to make sure I could fit them in, but yeah, they're still quite hot at the moment. So I think these are actually starting to cool down a little bit, so I think we can start working on them and return the saucepan to the kitchen in a minute. But I need to show you what I'm gonna do with them, because I don't treat them necessarily, but I do a few specific things that hopefully sort of increases the longevity of the bamboo sticks in under the water. And what that is I use a little bit of cyanoacrylate glue. So this is just the moss glue that you can get for scaping, and all I do, and hopefully it'll focus, is on the ends where it's going to be really soft, is I just blob a lot of glue, and then that soft inner centery bit gets sealed in with the glue, and I just do that on both ends, and I will do that on all of them. I might sprinkle a little bit of something on it to sort of make it go off, but by the time I finish these 10, we should be alright. And then I can show you how we're going to get these to sink, because they will float really, really well. Now, halfway through gluing them, I actually realised I might have just got a bit ahead of myself, because I haven't actually cut those down to size yet. So some of these might need to be trimmed at the top once we've got them into the aquarium. But I think, you know, it's not the end of the world. I can just dab a bit of glue up on top once I've done it. So next we need to make them stand up and actually sink as well, which I'm going to use these plant weights that come in the bottom of the plants and potted plants that I get. The reason for this is because I've got hundreds of them kicking around, and they should be perfect for the bamboo to sit in the bottom. But if you haven't got any of those kicking around, just a few pebbles would work exactly the same, and we're just going to glue them to the bottom, make sure they can sink in, and then once we've got them in, we can bury them in the sand. To be fair, pebbles are probably a better option, because if the sand sort of falls away, it just looks like a pebble at the base of the bamboo, whereas they're going to look like rings of ceramic at the bottom of the bamboo. I'm going to try them. I've got so many of them, I want to try them. Let's see if we can disguise them. If not, I'll have to pull them out and get some pebbles around them to disguise it. Now, I've done a little test run on one of these the other day to see how well it would work, and it was sort of 2 of these rings made it sink. One was still a little bit like too light. So I think we're going to get 1 ring on each one, get them glued down, and then we can work out how buoyant some of these are. And it's, again, a really, really simple case of just getting that ring on there, trying not to glue your fingers to the bamboo, and just popping some glue where you're going to seal them together. And then that will go off. You could use a little bit of kitchen roll or tissue paper to actually sort of, yeah, use as a bit of a medium to use the glue on, but to be honest, that will stick absolutely fine given a bit of time. But we do have to do 10 of them, which is going to be fun. I just touched the gluey bit of one of them. It'll be fine. I'm going to get glue on my hands by the end of this anyway, aren't I? It's pretty much inevitable using this amount of glue on this amount of sticks and weights. I am going to get glue on my fingers. I can already feel it sticking to things. Right, 10 more to go, or 9, or however many it is. I'll bring you back in a sec. And we are done. We have glued all of our little terracotta donuts to our pieces of bamboo. I think that works a treat. They're all fairly solid now that we've given them a bit of time to go off. So now we can get them into the tank, and most of them I'll probably end up like sliding extra ones down over, or I'm going to bury them in the sand a little bit and maybe glue some pebbles to the top of them. So we'll see what it looks like when we get them in the tank. So I think we're going to start with our bigger, thicker ones at the back, because I want to give it a sort of sense of scale. And I'm going to try and bury them down as far as I can, because I really don't want to be chopping off bits. But it looks like I'm going to have to anyway. Let's go with that one over on that side. We can try and bury that in some sand in a minute, if it'll stand up. There we go. Yeah, liking this. We need one to go the other way, because otherwise they're all pointing the same direction, and I think that'll annoy me. That'll look a bit weird. What else have we got? I want one back there, really, I think. Oh, I just put my hand on the gluey end of that bamboo. Is that right? Nice. From that angle, it looks like I've spelled the letter M. I didn't mean to do that. It doesn't look like that in real life, I promise. Oh no. It's all going wrong. Once we've got some sand in here, these will all stand up a little bit better, I think. I really want that one to be there. You lean up against each other? Yes. I'm going to have to move that pebble to get this one in. I think it's just making it random, really. I think that's the key to this, is it's sort of like a nature style sort of aquarium, so you don't want them to all be pointing the same way. You don't want them all to be the same size. Yeah, I think it's just chucking them in. Oh, chucking them in. None of them standing up the way that you want them to until you actually get the sand in here in a minute. And I've got a really cool sand to go in here, actually. Do you reckon we can get them all in? Do you know what? Why not? Let's get them all in. Right, let's pour some sand in, and then we can start actually angling them the way that we want them. So this is the sand we're going to go for. It's a Weo Cimarron sand, and it's got loads of different sort of colours and sizes and textures. So I think that'll be really nice for this flooded forest style we're going to go for. But I'm pretty sure, looking at how dusty it is on my hand, we are going to need to give this just a quick rinse out. But we shouldn't need too much, probably a jug full, and that'll be more than enough. Right, let's have... It's actually quite hard to judge how much I'm going to need. Oh my goodness, yeah. definitely needs a wash. I won't always wash sand out, but this one, being a small tank and being a very dusty sand, I think it definitely needs it. Oh my goodness, look at that. Right, I think we're going to be here for a while washing this. Now, what I just realised from washing it out is some of that dust that you're seeing is actually just really fine sand particles. So I think that sort of lends to that riverbed look. So I'm hoping that by giving it a quick wash off and then chucking the rest of it in, we should be okay. And this will allow us to hopefully get all these sticks placed the way that we want them, or at least that's the plan. Knocking them all over. It's going well so far. No, this is part of the plan. It's absolutely fine. I'm telling myself to trust the process. I know this is going to look good once it is full of water. It is just looking a bit funny at the moment. And we've got plants to add in here too in a minute, so that'll be absolutely fine. That'll green it up a little bit, but I think we are going to need a tiny bit more sand than what we've got, just to fill in those gaps. But I know, no, I'm happy with that. It's already looking quite cool, isn't it? Okay, cool, more sand. So it's actually not too bad. It's just that far back corner that I need to build up a little bit, and then we should be done. I'm just trying to get it back there. We'll give everything a bit of a wash down, because that'll wash all the gravel down into the lower areas, and then we can commence a bit of planting. But I think we'll maybe do a few scatter stones in here. We've got that nice gravel that come with the Fluval set, so I think we'll probably go with that as well, but hoping that's enough sand. Right, moment of truth. Let's spray all the rocks down, wash all that sand into all the right areas, hopefully, and then that'll lock all of these bamboo canes into place. And then I've just got to chop them down, because obviously we've got a lid on this tank to stop the Betta from jumping, and I will need to lock them all down. Lock them all down? Chop them all down to make sure they fit under that lid. But that looks like, well, you can't really see because it's covered in water, but that's exactly how I wanted it to look. So it doesn't look like there's too many choppy ones that we need to do, but that one is definitely one of them, because that is sticking up way too high and I can't angle it to fit it under. This one I think is another one. I've got so much glue over my fingers. Oh my word, that one's like, I think the glue's toughened that one up. I don't want it to ping off in... Oh, might need to break out the big guns rather than my little clippers. Right then, these big clippers will work, surely. I don't want to take my face off. Yes. Ah, and these are rose clippers, so they hold on to the bamboo because they've got grippers. Genius. So a bit of glue for you, a bit more glue for you, one for you. Why not stick more glue on this so my arms stick even more to the bamboo? I think I cut that one as well. I've already got my hands covered in glue from top to bottom, so a little more won't hurt. I don't think I cut you, but you can have a bit more glue. Right, cool. So to keep the planting fairly straightforward, I'm going to go with this absolute monster, which is a Limnophila heterophylla. Now, normally there'd be about half the size of that, but I've been growing them on for a few weeks in another tank. And then the other one is micranthemoides. I always get that one wrong. Two labels if you want to see them. Don't know if it'll focus, but there you go. I'll pop them down in the description. But both of these are very fast growing sort of stem plants, so in theory they should fill up the tank really quickly, especially with that soil in the bottom adding the nutrients, and then the NT Labs Plantus to actually give it some nutrition and some food. So I think this will work really, really well. We might end up putting a few other plants in there, but I think these will be the main ones. Now, both of these plants, being fairly fast-growing stem plants, should take most of their nutrition from the water, but obviously we've got that dense nutrient substrate in the bottom anyway, and they will throw their roots down into that. So we're helping them in every way we can. So they should grow really quickly. And bettas love to like lurk in amongst the plants and sort of, that's my impression of a betta sitting down in a plant. But they like to sort of sit in amongst the plants and chill out. So I think these two should be a perfect match. Taller Limnophila in the back, micranthemum in the front. Keep trimming it, replanting it, and it should be a proper little dense jungle. Now, to start off with these plants, what I'm going to do is, obviously I've left this one to grow a long time, and the fun thing with stem plants is that you can chop them down to, well, really short lengths and then plant them and they will grow. So we're going to go for plants that are about that length, and they will root and they will grow. It's a little bit like sort of herbs in your garden, if you've ever grown them. You can pretty much trim them, or, well, the majority of them, and replant them quite quickly. Or at least that's the understanding of herbs that I've grown. You might tell me different in the comments, because I'll be honest, I don't grow that many herbs. But if we do this, we should have a good amount of stems to chuck in the aquarium. And even these ropey looking sort of base pieces, we will use them as well, because they will shoot, they will regrow, and they'll put out new shoots, all from these little sort of nodes that you see off of the leaves here. They'll throw out brand new shoots and look like a new plant, well, probably in a couple of weeks. So that is all. Oh, does that one want to be trimmed a little bit? Yeah, I think it does, doesn't it? That was really tall. We'll just do that with my fingers. There we go. So that is all the Limnophila done. Next, we've got the micranthemoides, which this one has been growing on, but it's not done as well because there wasn't enough light down at the root. So it will still come back. If I can tease that out of there, this will all still come back really quickly. And we're just going to sort of, well, break this into rough clumps, because yeah, there's not much more you could do with it. You can go down to individual stems on it if you want to, but it just becomes a bit of a pain because it's so fine that you end up losing half of it trying to be really sort of particular. So a few loose clumps, make sure the clumps are pointing the right way, and we'll just dump them in amongst the substrate to grow up. And that'll work. An absolute treat. Right, there we go. We need some oh, I've already brought my tweezers over. Right, planting. So this should be relatively easy for me to plant because, well, I say that, I've actually made it quite difficult for myself with all of these pieces of bamboo. I didn't really think it through, but there's not many other ways to do it. It does make it quite tricky, to plant your plants, because you end up stabbing yourself on the bamboo. But it's fine. I like the look. You got to suffer for it sometimes, haven't you? You make it how you want it to look, and you've just got to go with the problems. You know, if it was bogwood, it would be similar. It would be tricky. But there's another probably 10 or 15 stems of this to go in. We'll just cover this entire back area and then bring some of it into the front area and down through the rocks, and then the finer stuff in the front. Let me get the Limnophila planted in the back, and I'll bring you back to see the Micranthemum going in. So to be honest, that doesn't look like much has happened, but that is all like, what, 15 stems of the Limnophila planted in the back, and to get right at the back I had to bundle up my Micranthemum, which is annoying. I'd sorted it all out into clumps and then had to take it and put it all back in a lump again, which was a bit stupid. But this stuff is so fast growing. I've used it before, and it does. In a way, it takes over, to be fair. It's probably, some people would see it as a really irritating plant, but it's better to have a plant that takes over and sort of grows in really, really quickly. And I am just pulling off rough lumps, chucking it in the tank, and it will grow from there. Obviously, once we do our first trim, which will probably be after the Betta is in here, because I want this plant to really sort of root in and grow quickly. So it'll probably be after, but once we trim, then we can replant all those trimmings into the soil, and we'll get an even thicker, denser hedge of this plant in there. So, oh, there's another 20 or so bits to go. So again, same process. I'll see you in a sec. And we are done. It doesn't look like much at the moment, but both those plants are so fast growing, they will not take over this tank, that's the wrong words, but they will fill in really quickly. Now, we could stop there. That would be good enough for the Betta, I'm sure, but there's a couple of little additions that I want to make, and one of those is a bag of gravel that came with the Fluval kit. Let's just pour a bit in there. That should do. Now all that is a larger grain gravel. So if I mix that in, or not mix it in, but place it on top all around the other stones, it will just tie the tank together and make it look like it's graded from large stone, smaller stone, and then really mini sand. That's the sort of idea behind it. So I've given it a quick rinse, and as the name scatter gravel suggests, we are just going to use a few of them to sort of mix them into and around these bigger boulders. It just, again, adds a few highlights, a few different shapes. It's giving it that riverbed vibe, isn't it? I like, you know, the sort of scatter gravel because it does really give you that vibe that you would see in the local river or the local stream. And it also hides the red terracotta rings that are hiding under the gravel. But yeah, it does really sort of, I don't know, makes it look more natural to me, I think. Just a little bit around there, mix it in a bit so it sort of looks good. Right, and then some leaves. Now for authenticity, I probably should have used some bamboo leaves, but I've always found in the past that the bamboo leaves break down quite fast. So what I actually done was I chucked some oak leaves, which are just harvested from my garden during the autumn time, and I just keep them, I've got the bag here somewhere, I just keep them in a fish bag, dry them out, let them sort of sit, and then whenever I need them, I just chuck a handful into boiling water, sterilise them, get them to sink, and then you can use them. And oak leaves are great, they're one of my favourites. But we'll just put a tiny little scattering of those around the front, because bettas do come from black water, or most of them come from black water, swamps and streams and things like that. So trying to recreate that environment is personally the nicest thing you can sort of do for them. It's not essential because the one that I'm getting is 100% going to have never seen a wild swamp in his life. The colour he is and the fact that he's been bred in captivity, you would never see him out in the wild. But the leaf litter just adds something, I think. It looks nice, it helps them. There's a lot of benefits to it, but I've definitely done too many, so they can go in another tank. So I think all that's left to do is get this tank filled up. I'm just trying to think now. I've got the heater in the back, I've got the pump in the back. Tank is where I want it. I will move the electrical plug sockets actually behind it in a minute, but other than that, I think we're ready to go. So while that's topping up, we can get our Optimus and our Satus in there. So Optimus is just going to make sure the water is ready with regards to chlorine and chloramines, dechlorination, all of that sort of good stuff. And then Satus is actually going to get some good bacteria running in here, which is probably not necessary while there's no fish or no livestock in here as such. But because of the sort of natural element to the aquarium, the bamboo, the leaf litter, the bacteria will start feeding off of that and create sort of a, well, the startings of a healthy ecosystem. So now all that is left to do is to let this tank settle and mature. So I'll bring you all back in about a week or two once this has settled down, and we'll go and get the fighter. Or to be fair, I might go and get him in a minute and then pop him into a quarantine tank here so he's ready to go. That might be easier. But anyway, I'll bring you back when this tank is fully mature. Obviously, we might put some extra biomedia from another tank into here so the tank is cycled really quickly. And if you can do that at home, then that's brilliant. Ask your local fish shop, or maybe ask friends that have got fish tanks. If you can chuck a little bag of like the ceramic sort of hula hoops, as it were, or some sort of biomedia into their tank for a week or two, or even longer ideally, that'll mean that's mature and ready to go. So it will make cycling your aquarium and starting your aquarium way easier. It's the favourite way of doing it for me, to be honest with you. The Satus really does work, but there's nothing like actual mature media from another tank. So yeah, I will see you all in about 7 to 10 to 14 days time, which will be a few seconds for you, and hopefully we'll be putting a Betta into this tank. We are back with the bamboo Betta forest. Maybe that's what I'm calling it. Anyway, it's been a week or two now, probably in between the two, and it is doing so well. It is crystal clear, and that's probably due to the Optimus and Satus, and also the fast-growing plants we've got growing in here. So as I've said, you can see that the fast-growing stems are going really well. The Limnophila in the back, the Micranthemum in the front, they're just all putting on really good growth. Now, we have dosed Plantus to the tank probably twice now, I think, in the time that this tank has been set up. And, well, that has just absolutely made those plants flourish. We've also got a few little ram swan snails in here to, well, help with the cleanup and just make sure there's any biofilms and algae being cleaned up. But with the low light of this Betta tank, it doesn't seem to want to grow that much algae in here. Now, as with all of my aquariums, we have been testing the water. So we have used our NT Labs aquarium lab. We have tested it for pHs, ammonias, nitrites, nitrates. Everything is spot on and ready to go. So we're using that Optimus and Satus with making sure the filter is well maintained and actually doing one little water change. Because I wanted to show you that feature on the back, actually. I haven't forgotten. The tank is registered fine. So we are ready for the fish. And luckily, I went and picked him up last week. Yeah, maybe last week, week before, I don't know. They all blend into one. But he is in a quarantine tank just down to my left. So we'll grab him out. But first, I will show you that little funky water change system on here. I don't need to do a water change, but I want to show you how it works. So if I grab my trusty jug, what you can do is on the back of this filter here is this funny little arm that you lift up. You flip it around, and it starts pumping water out of the aquarium. It's not the fastest of things, but it is certainly quick and easy to do a water change. All you need to do then is turn it back slightly to get the water to stop, wait for it to stop dripping so you don't get it dripped down the side of your tank, flip it over, chuck it back in, and your filter is back up and running, and you've done a little water change. I think that's a really clever feature. Now down in this cupboard is actually two of my quarantine tanks. Now in theory you wouldn't need to quarantine a Betta if he's going to be living on his own because, well, he's pretty much going to quarantine himself up in that tank anyway, but I wanted to make sure I had him and that he wasn't going to sell before I had chance to get him. So I'll find him quickly. He's going to be hidden in this rotala because he likes hiding in there. I'll grab him out and then we'll get him acclimatized to the main tank. And here he is. Now, I don't think you're going to be able to see him that easily, but he is in here. And I've just popped a little bit of plant in with his jug just to give him somewhere to hide while we get him acclimatized to the water. Because even though all the water in this room is in theory the same, out of the same tap, every tank has different rocks in, wood in, substrates in, and that can affect the pH and, well, lots of different things, to be fair, in your aquarium. So it is always worth taking a bit of time to acclimatise. All the tanks are at the same temperature in here, roughly. There's only probably maybe a couple of degrees in it in some of them, but it is always better to acclimatise. So you may be able to see him here swimming around in the jug, but he's actually really chilled out in here. He's really good. So shout out to my old shop, Maidenhead Aquatics Taunton, for getting in such an awesome little Betta. Now, he is a silver and black Betta, and his eyes are a bit funny. They are a little bit sort of, I don't know, glazed over. He might be blind in one eye, but he still finds food absolutely fine. But that means that this tank is going to be perfect for him. No one to compete with, no one to stress him out. If he has got a bit of poor eyesight, I can actually focus on him and make sure that he thrives. Now, to get this little guy acclimatised, I'm going to give him probably 45 minutes, maybe an hour. We'll see how he does. I'm just going to remove a bit of water from the new tank he's going into and gently pour it into the jug so I don't stress him out. We'll do that, I don't know, 5, 6, maybe 7 times, fill up the jug, make sure the parameters and the temperature's the same, and then we can get him in. So, yeah, I'll bring you back in the next 5 seconds. So we have given this little guy nearly an hour now to acclimatise. We've filled the jug up, I've emptied it, we have filled the jug up again, and I have had to top up the little tank. But everything is doing well. Temperatures match from jug to tank. Parameters are all matching, so we are ready to get him in. He is buzzing around this jug, ready to get out, but we will turn the light off because I want to give him a super chilled out introduction. Now, where possible, I will always try and make it as stress-free as I can for fish being moved home, because how crazy would it be being picked up out of one place with your sofa and your TV and then being dumped into another home that has got completely different furniture and having to find your way around and sort of, yeah, gather your bearings, I suppose. So let's give him a little bit of time, let him settle in, and I'll bring you back for the final reveal because he looks absolutely amazing. So I actually gave this little guy overnight to chill out. I thought, you know what, by the time I had finished sort of uploading footage, it was late. I didn't want to turn the lights on for an hour just for me to turn them off an hour later to go to bed. So I left him overnight to chill out, and this morning he is all over the place. I've watched him fighting with the snails, I've watched him checking out all the plants, I've watched him chilling out and almost starting to look like he was trying to build a bubble nest and just coming out to see me now. But I have made a couple of additions to make him feel a little bit more settled, and those additions are these little seed pods that you can see here and here, and there's a few bits that broke off as I put them in that I've scattered in the front. Now, I got these ages ago from Live Aquatic Food online. I have got an absolute horde of different botanicals that I want to use, but I've always found that my Bettas love going in and out of them, exploring them, seeing what's going on, even sometimes sleeping in them. And they will provide a home for microorganisms. So as this tank matures and the leaves and the seed pods break down, you'll find it will give the Betta something to hunt and something, well, to be a bit more interested in. We don't think about giving our fish almost toys to play with, but this just gives the fish enrichment, and I'm sure it makes them happier. Now, be sure to keep an eye out on my social media platforms and the community page on here and all of those different places, because we'll be doing updates on this little guy and also how Plantus does with a low light setting. Even though we've got that substrate fertilizer in there, we'll see how this micranthemum fills in the front over the next few weeks. So I'll give you some updates over there. I might need to move this tank because I quite like building on here, but we will see. But this little dude is awesome, and it makes me feel I want more Bettas again, but I've already got a few, so yeah, really don't need any more. But I will see you all in the next one. Be sure to tune in. We have got some cool experiment videos coming up as well that I'm trying to get done, but they're taking a bit longer than I thought they were going to. So yeah, be sure to tune in for that, and I will see you all in the next one.